let's talk about our first performing orc player, Matthew Hartnet. Hope I didn't mess up your name you get. So right here, I like to pull up Matthew's War Horde list, and he called it Big Pig. Pretty awesome on that. He literally named his list after the kill rig in his list. So we have a boss Snikra, Ghazghkull Thraka, triple basic war bosses on foot. 1 Beast Snagger Boy unit, simply 10. 1 truck, 3 5-man units of Flash Gitz, a kill rig, 2 Mega Nobz with kill saws, and a combi shooter, because that's what he probably had him owned as. A 10-man unit of Nobz, 2 5-man unit of Nobz, the Squig Boy unit at its minimum size for the 4 models, 3 Storm Boys, and 1 Gretchen unit. So what's cool about this is, 1, that Matthew's actually a part of our community in our Discord. So he did actually appreciate the kill rig over time. I'm glad to see it come on. And he was able to give me some of his notes on some things that happened. Of course, I'm not going to read the entire extra little detail that everything that happened to the chat, but I can summarize it so you guys know. And of course, you can talk to him in the Discord if you actually want to reach out and kind of hear more details on these matchups. What he did stress was that, 1, this was intentionally an MSU skirmish sort of list. So he's definitely trying to have a lot of units. He thinks that orc skirmishing is actually, not that bad if you just go for straight 5-5-5-5-man units. But having Gaz in that skirmish mix-up means that when you do Call of WAAAGH, these skirmish units can typically punch with that lethal, which is what he strongly took advantage of all the time. Of course, it does come to timing. So a lot of people are like, well, that doesn't work with me. That's a timing factor. It means that he was really good at staying his aura ranges. He knew when to Call of WAAAGH, and he really was just, taking advantage of every little unit he had, because there are a couple things he said looking at this list is the lethal hits are really good into his stat check armies, which helps offset that, which Gaz, kill rigs, and Nobz were the units that helped offset the stat check. His MVPs were also Gaz, kill rigs, Nobz, and the Flash Gitz were his just favorite units, and he still thinks that orcs are fine with trading up, like I said, if they have Gaz's lethal aura in that case. The one thing that he really wants to stress when you're looking at this list is that the kill rig really did push his Nob units over that threshold. That +1 strength, like I always say, guys, really helps Nobz with that weird strength we kind of have sitting at 9 on the wall, 10. There's good transports that are strength, the toughness 10. Anything tougher than that is pretty common as well, sitting around 11, 12. So therefore, you having lethal +1 strength means you're doing just so much significantly better into those toughness models. Units, which is what he pretty much said that he enjoyed the most out with this combo. So those were his direct takeaways. Today's sponsor, Baron of Dice. So Baron of Dice has great dice. They have actually enabled us to give these dice out for our paint competitions. So I greatly advise that you go out there. We have a link in the description for 5% discount. That's, of course, because nobody likes taxes. Shout out to Baron of Dice, because they are actually customizing orc dice just for us that you guys will be able to get a hold of, and they look exceptional. So shout out to Baron of Dice. Really appreciate you guys, and I really do suggest you get them. I love the actual texture these dice have. Beautiful. Let's take a look at his matchups. And I think Matthew's in chat. Shout out to Matt. Whoa, for Coda. And I see you, Gitz. What's up, Gitz? Sorry I was late today. I had a lot of technical difficulties going on. Of course, when we look at these matchups, we have his first matchup. So in this first matchup, sorry, I should have showed this, guys, getting too excited. This was a 50-person GT, the Big Sky Open in America. He did have his first game was a loss. Now, mind you, guys, normally, when you do lose the first game, people will say, well, that's submarining. You didn't end up playing to win for overall. That's true. That being said, when you look at the overall scores that he was able to rack up with this list, it means he was doing very, very well. So therefore, it gives a lot of merit behind this list, and I very much found this list to be quite valid as well. So even with losing that first game, it's a 74-point win. Just keep in mind, you're looking at a 74, a 100, a 100, a 100, and then a 92, meaning, even though my math sucks, let's see, he missed about 31 points, something like that, right? I'll mess up, maybe more than that. Sorry, I messed that up. But either way, maybe then 38. I don't remember the math. He's very short of the straight up 500 points available to you if you play 5 games, right? So that being said, that's why I gave his list and win path so much credit. So his first matchup right off the bat was a straight hard skew, which we always like to talk about. It's really common right now in Nexus, and just when you're going to events, you got to be aware for the stat check, really skewed strong army. So we have a demonic force of essentially Slanesh demons. So we have a Keeper of Secrets, another Keeper of Secrets, and then a Shalexi Hellbane, which is essentially a named Keeper of Secrets. Now I want to pull her up because some of you guys might not be aware of her because she's named, and Slanesh, this just demons, when you see them you're like, whoa, okay, this is annoying. When you don't know them, then you think they just suck because everybody tells you they suck. So essentially this girl King Crack, right? Subtract 1 when you're just trying to hit her in melee. She gets to reroll charges into monsters and vehicles and characters. You get to reroll the hit roll, the wound roll, and the damage into those same units as well. And then, of course, they have the Shadow of the Warp ability, which gets off all their strats and other different stuff. She's a basic T10 with 4 up invuln and 20 wounds, leadership 6. She does move 14, but keep in mind, demons can advance and charge. So she's still covering some fat distance. So yeah, you just got to be aware of pretty much demons as a whole, as they keep getting point decreases because people keep saying they suck, when at the end of the day, I think sometimes it's just a character thing. One other thing, if you're not used to playing demons, a lot of uppy downy moves, so they can really take advantage of combat with their uppy downy, come within 6, and then do weird charges on you. So there's a lot going on here with Slaanesh. You know, you can play pure Slaanesh for really good combat and Khorne. So they have Silax. Silax, I think her name is Selexi, sorry. And then the Changeling, followed by 1 Nurgling, a Beast of Nurgle, really freaking annoying. You know, everybody knows how the Chaos Spawn's annoying. Beast of Nurgle isn't quite there yet, but full regenning when you're not dead is really freaking annoying. We have a Hellflayer, a Soul Grinder, 1, 2, 3 Soul Grinders. Now, a lot of people actually aren't too familiar with Soul Grinders. They do have decent shooting. They have their strength 3 guns. They have the back gun that comes up and does, you know, has blast and gooding for shooting small arms units. So just keep that in mind, that these guys also have the shooting, which when I actually did speak to Matt, he did say, well, he just wasn't prepared for the Soul Grinder shooting be so effective. Most of the time, because people aren't used to it. The Soul Grinder can sit there at the edge of the table, immediately shoot away those Squig Hog boys with his flat strength damage 3. And then even if he does choose to charge them, he can beat them up because he has multi-damage, strength 6, and all these different hard punches, and he's 4 up invuln with the T11, I believe, on the Soul Grinder. Maybe 11, 10. But pretty much the Soul Grinder gave him much shooting that he thought, you know, that he could endure, but it kind of hurt him a little more than he expected. Not to mention that he had an error where he split attack for the Keeper of Secrets, and he ended up not killing the Keeper of Secrets. So she ended up just kind of chewing through him. Selexi, so as he started to lose those units, you guys know how it is when you're an Orcs player. When you go in and you don't delete that unit, it really feels bad, and it's actually quite likely that the clapback will kill or severely cripple your unit in response. So that's where this can pretty much happen here, that because he didn't kill these big monsters, they had the ability to respawn. Selexi ended up just kind of chewing through the rest of his army, and then he just edged him since it was Purge of the Foe, and he ended up just falling behind. So a 96-74. That's how the game ended up going. So they did just straight up brawl in the middle, go toe to toe, try to, you know, slug it out to come up on top. But in this case, the Orc player simply just fell behind from Purge and not killing stuff enough and effectively enough. He said it was a little bit on his error for the, you know, for the dice rolls, and that really just does happen. Everybody knows that when you're an Orc player, if you bounce that target when you're trying to kill it, sometimes you just straight up eat death in response. So now we go into his second matchup, where he came into another stat check army. This time it was Chaos Knights with the War Dog spam. So he has a War Dog Stalker, followed by 6 Brigands, 6 Brigands, and 4 Carnivores, 2 Beasts of Nurgle, 2 3-man units of Nurglings. You know, I actually think they get better value. They just consolidate this into like a 6-man unit, but he might have had weird points left over. It always comes down to, is the Chaos Knight player smart enough to take advantage of these Nurglings? Not to, you know, feel bad about Chaos Knight players or anything. It's 1, do they use them to move block your trucks, your squigs, delay you position, or B, do they keep them next to their war dogs and buildings and allow them to cast that aura of -1 to hit, meaning you can't reliably punch out the war dogs? Yet in this case, you know, he knew that this was going to be a straight up stat check, and it seems like the player really did kind of try to I think he said he was trying to stat check him, literally, like I said, with the rules. So he sent his squigs to the non-expansive point. He was hiding his knobs in ruins. His kill rigs also went up to his natural expansion, and he just kind of sat out, not in the fire lanes too much, but enough to bait them to come out. That way he can take advantage of the wall, Gaz's or Letha abilities. And he said the kill rigs giving the knobs that extra +1 strength really helped, plus the ethos, so that he could actually split and kill more war dogs than he expected. So he ended up tabling them by turn 3. So yeah, and he also said, of course, some of those 5-man units in the war boss would come in from reserve, so a unit from reserve also had him, surprisingly, he said. So just so you know, the reason why, sorry, I should have mentioned that earlier, why he doesn't have a bunch of trucks on the list as well is because on the wall he actually came in from reserve usually, so he can enjoy the WAAAGH ability, since GW decided to gut us on that. And since we can't hear inside transports, we don't activate our WAAAGH ability on the war boss. That's how he circumnavigated that. He ended up using the reserves, so great job there. Now we go into his third matchup, which was against Imperial Knights. This matchup, he was just straight up. He played conservatively, let the Squighog boys kind of bait and other units bait for Canis to come out, letting Gaz pretty much go with Canis. And of course, the lethals alongside with the Flash Gitz and the Nobz really made a huge difference to killing this army. So he had Canis Rex, a Crassus Knight Lancer. So he was trying to go toe to toe too, huh? Two Helvingers, Helvrins, excuse me. What the heck was I saying? And 5 Warglaves. So there's 5 Warglaves, 2 Helvrins, 1 Canis, Cladius Assassin, and then the Fighty Knight Crastus. So this was a bit of baiting. I think that a lot of the time Orc players don't realize that that's really what you need to do against these Knights players. Wait for that enough stuff's on the line that your lethal ability can go off and you can pick those guys up. That's really what it comes down to. If you don't get that off when you need it to, you're just, there's a good chance you just end up just bouncing or straight up dying. I'm really glad that the kill rig came into play there too. Like I always tell you guys, Orcs just have that weird lack of strength, and kill rigs ended up helping make up for that, he said in that matchup. So then we move to his 4th round, which is into Drukhari. So he had a Drukhari Sky Splinter Assault Force. He has an Archon, Lilith Hexbarash, and a Succubus with Night Shroud. That's 4 units of Kabbalite Warriors, 1 Witch, followed by 5 Raiders, 2 Venoms, an Incubi, 1 Mandrake unit, 2 units of Ravengers, and 2 units of Scourges. So what this matchup, what really was a factor was obviously how vehicle heavy it was. And he actually ended up going first, and he tried to cut him out. He moved his trucks transports out, that way he can kind of get the initiative, which is a lot of time what these other melee armies, like I said before, did the advantage on us. So it's actually pretty annoying. In a cool way, he did use his kill rig to actually pop those transports in response, which is what we always mention about the kill rigs, is they can actually allow you to interact with other armies' transports. If it was a Rhino, is also same factor, because if they decide to pop smoke and maybe do armor of contempt for a normal basic orc shooting, you just might severely just bounce. A kill rig helps kind of offset those factors, just being able to actually straight up hit with the -3. Even though the Drukhari, they have invulns on their stuff, right? Another thing was the Gitz were actually a big factor too. Of course, like I always say, they have the perfect profile for these T3 armies. That way he can kind of, shoot them away if anything happens, overwatch them. So he was pretty much crippling the army before it really got to fully get into him. And since he crippled the armies, the units that wanted to hit him, it meant that on his wall turn, he was able to run over them. And pretty much just putting the momentum on continuously in his path. So even though Drukhari player moved out to take the initiative, his overwatch, his transport positioning, and his Flash Gitz being able to be there to immediately respond ended up really kind of not allowing the Drukhari player to really take the initiative fully. And when he went in to try to kill the kill rig ended up surviving, wiping the unit out in response, because he was also mentioning, don't sleep on the kill rig's killing potential, especially into these T3 units. Even the little budget boys on the side can get some punches in. So because the witches bounced off that kill rig, it ended up killing those units almost by himself. And pretty much survived long enough so that the rest of the army could keep going. Flash Gitz were a factor as well to trade with Overwatch on those Scourges. So interestingly enough, like we mentioned all the time, you need to participate in the shooting phase. Having volume of fire to deal with these T3 units, these units that want to get in the way, armies that want to delay you with cheap chaff. You don't necessarily always want to go just punch and everything. And even sometimes strength 5, you end up wounding them just not enough, or even strength 4. So wounding on 2s with damage 2, it just feels really to all these T3 units. So I love that he picked that up. Love that he took advantage of Overwatch and the kill rig's auto hitting capability. And to you gets wondering what's going on, where's the cult of speed? That's next. So mind you guys, he got 100 against Drukhari again. A lot of positioning and presence of the board state you can see going behind Matthew's decision making here, and just how he's explaining the game worked out to me. I really, really appreciate that he used the kill rig and the Flash Gitz. Clearly, he's a channel member. Yes, that's cool. So thank you very much for that, Matthew, by the way. So in his final game, it is time for atonement. It is time for Matthew to make up that first game loss, that first game failure. At his final game, he goes back into another Demon Keeper of Secrets list. It's not exactly the same, but it's still pretty good, right? That's pretty funny. It's funny because someone in chat also said that the Slaanesh units the armies seem to be catching momentum again. I think, like I said, a lot of that is because demons keep coming down at points so much that you can just have you know, a volume of big monsters and kind of have a little bit of chaff here and there left over. They still have uppy downy and they have advance and charge. So not surprising people are just like, oh, that seems pretty easy to play and killy. So I'm glad he gets to go against Slaanesh Demons again. Let's take a look at this one though. So he's Keeper of Secrets, Hellbane again, a mask of Slaanesh. Sorry guys, forget it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units of Demonettes. This is the big factor of difference here. I think the first list was a bit tougher because it was more big stuff for killing. The Demons do actually give you answers, right? Like we just seen with the Drukhari matchup. Flash Gitz are looking at these guys a little happily. He has 3 units of Fiends. They do punch pretty well. They're like their kind of version of cavalry. And then a Seeker Chariot. So he said the Slaanesh player went first. He moved very aggressively, tried to screen the Demonettes and use them, but he used his Flash Gitz to pretty much go out and skirmish with the Demonettes, like I mentioned, and he used his truck to kind of go out and skirmish with them too. So of course that means he probably like tank shocked it and run him over and beat him up. He pretty much said, my kill rig did what it did all tourney. It took a point with the Snagas by himself, tanked what it could, tanked almost everything, pretty much held down a firing lane and just continuously shot auto hits at this greater demon. And then, of course, he has the Beast Snagga boys that can, you know, disembark and start kind of causing havoc as well. He said Gaz, again, kind of carried this matchup where these armies, mind you guys, we've looked over this, everything he's gone through. He's constantly hitting high toughness armies. If he didn't have Gaz, that's it. He would have lost all these games. He would have just straight up lost all these games, including this one. And I said, like, even if you included, because you see here he has Nobz, right? I'm saying, like, if he didn't specifically add Gaz, you switch whatever you want to put in there, a more Mega Nobz, more Nobz, Squighog boys, whatever. It wouldn't have offset this. He would have lost to these matchups. So he said Gaz this time, and he learned from not splitting so much. Went in there, ended up killing his Nobz, ended up picking up another unit of Keeper of Secrets. And he definitely had a crackback. He said that he kind of slugged it out, but he ran out of units essentially by the time it was for him to respond, since, you know, our Orc player was able to get the initiative. So the first time Demonets came out, Flash Gitz in response. Second time, Demons came out to kill the Flash Gitz. In response, Gaz and Nobz came out. At that point, you can see there's low momentum. Not to mention, remember, he can fight on death, so the Nobz can get another initiative if they have to. And his 10-man unit took his home objective, ended up coming back on primary in round 5. So it was really that late of a swing. He said he just pretty much came back again on primary in 5. So that was the end of his event of those wins. Now, let's take one more look at his list before we move on this final note. So he said his kill rig, his big notes, his big takeaways was kill rigs kills almost everything he kills. Gaz kills almost everything he touched most of the time, and the lethal auras really help you overwhelm a flank when it's that time to go. He loved the kill rigs being able to put his Nobz over that strength threshold, and it really didn't die as often as people think, right? I always say, if you take your kill rig and stick it on the middle of the table, yes, it will die. It is not a Land Raider Redeemer. But if you play the flanks and you limit the amount of units and anti-tank that can shoot at it, it's going to tank a lot of that, guys, because the Feel No Pain and because the WAAAGH gives it that invuln. And he said, of course, like I always talk about, those 5-man units, Flash Gitz, SWAT teams also felt really, really good as he got his points back with skirmishing with the Nobz, with the War Boss, and the Flash Gitz. He said it really taught him that at the end of the day, Orcs really do take a great benefit from trying to go MSU, skirmish, and just have Gaz really, really push those small units over the breakpoint to punch up and finally get the point efficiency from Orcs that we need. So Gaz really, really carried this one, but the big pig lives on, you kids. So war for Matthew and his run with the War Horde. If you enjoyed the clip, check out the full video here. If you'd like to see more tactics, click here.
Let's get stuck in, lads!